the unit is on questioning and questioning skills. You have asked a question before. I have asked a question before. In our daily lives, we do ask questions. Now, in teaching and learning, questioning is a very important tool that if we understand it well and use it effectively, we would enhance effective learning in our students. So this session is taking a look at questioning. Let's proceed. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to explain the classroom atmosphere that motivates students to ask questions. Explain why sometimes through student questions back to the class for them to answer, and state the importance of student questions in the classroom. But before we go to these objectives, we need to understand the concept of questioning. Questions are statements that require answers, and eventually people from all walks of life ask questions. And there's this funny joke where a guy head of a country where all the people in the country answer questions with questions. So he set off to go and investigate to find out. Now at the airport, the first person that he met and asked that I heard in this country they answer questions with questions. The guy also asked him, "Who told you?" as his answer, and that was confirmed. Well, back to what we are doing. So people from all walks of life do ask questions. Socrates, the famous Greek philosopher who lived from 469 to 399 BC, developed and popularized the art of questioning. Eventually, philosophers, scholars used questions to find truth about this world. As people encounter and identify problems, what do? They pose questions that are relevant to find answers to the problems. Children start asking questions and develop their imaginations from about the age of 4 years or earlier than that. So that's a little bit about the concept of questioning. Now, questions are very important in the classroom, and in the next sessions we will be looking at importance of questioning importance of questioning in the classroom. But before this would be very effective, before you can effectively use questions, there is a certain kind of atmosphere that the teacher needs to create to motivate students to ask questions. If you are not able to create such atmosphere, you will go, you will teach and leave, and not even a single student may even ask you a question. That doesn't mean that they have followed whatever you have taught fully. That is not a good instance. So we are looking at atmosphere that motivates students to ask questions. You need to create attractive lessons, free, friendly, and peaceful atmosphere in order to enable students to ask questions. If your lessons are not attractive, students will not ask questions. If what you are teaching they feel is not relevant, they will not ask questions. They will just sit and watch you. If there is no freedom in the classroom, then students will not ask questions. When students feel under pressure, when they feel intimidated, when they don't feel free in your classroom, they would not even ask a single question. When the environment is not friendly and peaceful, they are not going to ask any questions. They feel threatened when you are in the class. And if you don't take time, some of them will even be shaking. Students would recoil into their shells, as it were, when teachers appear autocratic and threatening. And so it is something that do not promote the atmosphere for students to ask questions. When you appear to be autocratic, you don't give rooms for students' opinions. And whatever they say is, excuse me to say, is nonsense. And you don't acknowledge the opinions, then they are not going to ask questions. Sometimes threatening them wouldn't also help them. So, in order to create an atmosphere for students to ask questions, we need to get rid of these things. Sometimes your appearance itself might be a bit intimidating, and so you need to find a way of appearing in a way that students will feel free and they will feel at peace in your classroom. However, as you are working on atmosphere to motivate students to ask questions, you should take note of this, that some students ask questions only to attract attention for themselves, and so they wouldn't ask relevant questions. You may be teaching about concept A, then they will be asking you something that is totally outside what you are teaching. It is just to make them feel they are relevant. Such questions, if you are not careful, it may move you away. And if you are not careful also in how to handle such questions, you may spoil or you may create unfriendly atmosphere. So in such case, you should be very polite, and then if you can ask the students to ask the question another time, it will help. So when you handle it this way, that's a nice way that wouldn't shame the students in front of his colleagues, but you have also put the question aside. He may even not ask that question again throughout the time he or she spends with you. Why? Sometimes when students ask questions, you would have to throw or in a very good practice, when they ask questions, you may throw the question back to them. Why do we do that? Or why should a teacher do that? Effective communication in the classroom demands that the student's question should be received by the teacher and thrown back to the class for an answer. So to promote communication in the classroom, when a student asks a question, listen to the question and then give it back to the student to answer. This practice has a lot of advantages. We would look at it on the next slide. But to do that, you must first listen to the question attentively. And if the question is not clear, you should try to make it clear by rewording it and then redirecting it to the class. And when you do that, it disabuses the minds of the students in regarding you as a walking encyclopedia. Please, don't be happy if your students see you as a fountain of knowledge. If you're a teacher in such situation, don't be happy because there is a danger ahead. The very day you are not able to provide right answer to a student's question, that is all. They lose confidence, they lose trust, they lose it all for you. Unfortunately, if they see you as a walking encyclopedia, you may have some students who will go outside everything to look for certain questions somewhere and come and ask you just to test you. And when you get it wrong, that is all. They will not value your lessons again. So always try to disabuse the minds of your students. Don't let them think that you are a walking encyclopedia. Now, throwing questions back to students saves an embarrassing situation in which the teacher provides an answer, only to find out that a student has a correct or a better answer to the question. There may be questions that technically you don't know. You are only drawing some experiences to maneuver your way through. Sometimes the problem is that some students are only testing you and they know the answers. to the questions they are asking you. They're only testing you. So when they ask, you take the question and then you begin answering. If you get the question wrong, if you get the answer wrong, you put yourself in a serious situation. You embarrass yourself. Give it to them. They may even answer the question for you. Or as they are trying to discuss and find answer, you would have ample time to even think about the answer. Moreover, throwing the question back to students trains students to contribute to class discussions. That is very interesting. When you give the question back to students, then you will see that students have ideas to share. They will be sharing ideas, and some of the points that would even come on board are very salient, very relevant, that you may even end up learning from them. So don't always take students' questions and then begin answering. Put it back to them and listen to them. Importance of student questions in the classroom. The type of relationship that exists between a teacher and his or her students could reflect in the questions students ask. In other words, it reveals the kind of relationship that exists in the classroom between the teacher and the student. And students' questions enable the teacher to provide clarification on concepts. Sometimes you present certain concepts to students. The kind of questions they will be asking would give you an indication that they need further explanation or clarification. So when they ask you the questions, you would be able to provide such clarifications. It enables the teacher to ascertain the understanding level of the student. Some questions will help you to know the understanding of your student. And then it is a means of keeping students active in the lesson. Imagine talking, explaining things, and then asking your student to ask questions and they sitting down quietly. It doesn't make your class interesting and active. However, if they ask questions, you answer them, then it's a sign that students are active in your lesson. We are going to end this session with these questions, and I urge you to try and answer them. We will meet in the next session. Thank you.